here's the thing with Paul George. He's not a winner. He's not a winner. Paul George has gone to 2 different teams, and he's never won. He's played with Kawhi Leonard. He's played with Harden. He's played with Russell Westbrook. I mean, they're at the tail end of their career, but you had 4 guys that were superstars at one point of their careers. You couldn't make that work? You couldn't make this work over there in the Western Conference where, honestly, it was only 3 deep this year. The Timberwolves really showed up, but really throughout the season, it was 3 teams. It was really 3 deep. The only teams that I thought had a chance to win were OKC, the Timberwolves, and Denver. Those were the only 3 teams I thought were going to win.
And even the Timberwolves were a little bit of a surprise, too, to be that.
I was shocked that Dallas went to the finals. I think a lot of people were shocked. But, hey, Luka Doncic is a beast, and I thought he was the MVP of the league. But I'm going to say this. Paul George, as good of a player as he is, he's a sensational player. Defensively, he can defend any position. He could even defend the 5. I've seen him do it. He could defend any position. Paul George is not a winner. He can't stay healthy. How many games does he play every single year? How many games has he averaged a year in the last, I would say, 3 years? What is it, 56, 55? The guy cannot stay healthy. A gruesome injury, coming back from that and really redefining his skill. It's an amazing story. And I love him as a player. I love Paul George. I think he's a great personality. I love him, all the different stuff that he says at his press conferences, even off the court, and what he does raising money and for all the kids. I love what he does, okay? But he's not a winner. And now he's going to an organization that never wins. It doesn't matter who's on that team. James Harden, Ben Simmons. Hey, why don't we send LeBron James there to play with these guys? They're just not going to win over there. And now you give Paul George a 4-year, $212 million contract. Paul George is what, 35 years old? He's breaking. He's falling apart. I mean, he's like a Lego. That's what he is. How many pieces do have to fall off his body to realize he's not worth $212 million?
So we can call him Paul Lego George.
That's what he is. He's the Lego. Thank God the Warriors didn't make this move. They really look stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were the Warriors, I'd sit back and wait until Giannis becomes available because he could be available a lot sooner than people think. And I agree with Stephen A. Smith. I think he's right. This has been the worst big three we've ever seen in NBA history. It has. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden. And then they extended James Harden recently. Mm-hmm. What are they thinking? James Harden is a cancer. A cancer. Paul George, he's falling apart, man. I don't understand him. The guy, there are games that I'm like, this guy is a born superstar. This guy is unbelievable. 2-way player as good as anybody in the league. And then all of a sudden he disappears. And remember, Paul George, his numbers have gone down. Yeah. He's gone down. Now he's making a lot of money. He's making more money yearly than OG Anunoby. Okay. Is he better than OG Anunoby? Not really. I mean, OG's the same type of player and he's younger. Now, OG, he's dealing with a lot of injuries. OG cannot stay healthy either. But who would you rather right now? An OG Anunoby who's what, 26, 27 years old? Or do you want a Paul George who's 34, going to be 35, who's breaking down? That's the question. And I'm going to tell you this not because I'm a Knicks fan. I'm going to take OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby, to me, defines what you're looking for when it comes to a 2-way player. Why? Because there are games that he doesn't need to play offense. He can just play defense. He can defend. He's a wing defender. He can defend multiple positions. Paul George needs to be the 2-way player with the Clippers. He's going to need to be the 2-way player if they expect to beat the Knicks or expect to beat the Cavaliers or the Celtics next year. There's no way they're beating those teams because there's too much depth. And what do the 76ers have for depth? What is
old guys from the Clippers, ironically.
So you bring another old guy in Paul George. You bring in all these different old guys. How is this going to work? How is it? Now, it's better than what Miami has done now, but if they bring in Dame Time, there's another old player going to play with Jimmy Buckets. And do I think Dame Time is better with Jimmy Buckets and Adebayo? Yeah, absolutely. I would bet more that Miami has a chance to go all the way with Dame than Paul George going to the 76ers. Now, that's not taking shots at the 76ers. I love Joel Embiid. I think he's a great player when he doesn't try to kill somebody. But hey, nevertheless, or try to, call out his own fans or call out the Knicks fans, as he's done that before. The fact is, when you look at Paul George and you look at who he is as a player, do you trust that he is worth the 4 years, $212 million? Because I would have looked at other players. I would have looked at other opportunities to make other moves this offseason to make this team better. You could have added 3 players for that money that would have made your team much, much better and give your team more depth. Look at Indiana, okay? Indiana has 1 star and a bunch of depthful young players. Now, did it work for them this year? They have Rick Carlisle. He's a great coach. He's a great defensive mind. He's worked very well with the youngsters. Paul George comes from Indiana, okay? He actually knows Rick Carlisle. He was his coach, okay? He knows a little bit about Paul George. A lot of people know a little bit about Paul George. And I'm going to tell you this. He has never, ever, since he's left the Indiana Pacers, been coached by a guy that actually knows what he's doing. And now he's going to the 76ers. I think Nurse is a good coach. But is he? Because when he went under pressure against the Knicks in the playoffs this year, was he out-coached by Thibodeau? Thibs. And I would say he was. And that's the problem right now. Nick Nurse, he did win a championship with Toronto. He did. But he had Kawhi Leonard. And Kawhi Leonard was at the prime of his career. Kawhi Leonard was the top 3 player in the league before his knee went. Is he a top 3 player now? No. But they don't win without Kawhi Leonard. Now, I'm not saying Nurse didn't help them, and he wasn't one of those guys that was good leadership in the locker room. But this 76er team, how long has Nick Nurse been there? What has Nick Nurse done for that organization? Where have they gone? How far have they gone? You have Joel Embiid, who's won an MVP. He's the only big man in NBA history that's won an MVP that's never played in the finals. The only big man. You're talking about great MVPs in the past. Shaquille O'Neal. We can go up and down some of the great big men. Even Patrick Ewing played in the finals. Now, Patrick Ewing never won an MVP, but Hakeem Olajuwon did. That's the problem right now. And the 76ers, does this make them a better team? Yes, it does. It makes them a better team, but how much better? I could tell you that the Celtics are better than they are. Did the Celtics get better? No. The Knicks got better. The Cavaliers got better because they added Kenny Atkinson. That by itself makes them better. And I believe if Miami gets Dame, they're better. So if you sit here right now, where does the 76ers land right now going into the season this coming year? I would think they're the 5th best team because if Miami gets Dame, they're the 4th. So there's a lot of questions with this move. I don't know. I think they were reaching. I think they want to keep Joel Embiid over there. Joel Embiid, there has been conversations that Joel Embiid does not like the way this organization is moving. He didn't like the way the fans didn't show up to the games in the playoffs. The Knicks fans showed up. They stockpiled over there in Philadelphia. The fan base over there, the New York Knicks fans. I think there has to be some kind of worry. And this is an organization for years had the top 3 pick. What happens if Joel Embiid decides to leave? What happens if Joel Embiid's knee just blows out? I mean, he didn't look good in the Knicks series. I know he put up the numbers. He was sensational. I don't know how he's putting up those numbers with a hurt knee. The Knicks couldn't stop him. But I mean, he's getting older. He's 30 years old. How many years does Joel Embiid have where you have a championship contending center like that? I don't know. I think the organization is in trouble and they were reaching here.